Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Human SOS Show. We're on episode 118, and we want to talk about not just being an influencer, but using our influence in a positive way. Welcome, Hawk. Glad to have you this morning. Anton, you want to introduce our topic?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Just broad topic, right? We're talking about using it in a positive way, but really even specifically focused on what Kevin and I talk about, right? Helping people to live in a more sustainable way. This can talk to things like mental health. This can talk to things like physical health. This can talk to, better leadership. This can talk to, better relationships, all these different topics that we cover. We want to discuss today and use obviously you and have your engagement with what do you think influencers need to do in order to be effective in that space, right? It's something that I've done as a coach for a long time. It's something that Kevin has done as a coach for a long time. It's getting people from point A to point B without just saying, hey, I have a six pack, do what I said because that's the best way to go. It's ineffective. That only works on Instagram and it's not actually going to get people to change long term. So the question is for you, right? If we want to influence somebody for a better way of living, what kind of steps, what kind of things do you think we should do in order to make that influence be effective? More than just, I sent the communication out, I sent the Instagram post out, I sent the LinkedIn post out. How do we actually make those people, or I should say support those people, influence those people in A, making the choice to want to make the change, and then B, being able to sustain it and get to that new destination of a more sustainable way of living? So, Kev, what do you think? Some things that come to mind. I don't know if you have some shout outs too.
I got to say hi to Erica. Erica, good to have you. Been a while. Good to have you on board. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. One of the obvious steps is to begin to live it ourselves. Take that first step, that 10% in the area that you need to take that step in, and be an example. Let people see the value. Let people see the benefit of living sustainably. Depends on your area, whether it's physical fitness or mental and emotional fitness or spiritual fitness. Take those steps and begin to live it and be that example. That's to me one of the obvious, because I know when I watch people and I see them doing good things or good things happening with them, I at least have a curiosity about, well, how did you get there, or what you're doing to make that work. So that would be my first thought. Good morning, Sharon. Glad to have you this morning with us.
Good morning, Sharon. I think that's a good one, Kev. And right, there's a right and the wrong way of doing that. I think the right way is being real about it, right?
Mm,
It's saying, here's what I do, but it's also not perfect. It's
right.
also, I slip up, I fall, I make mistakes. A lot of times, what these influencers do, and more of the social media influencers. Remember, we're not talking about influencer as just a social media influencer. Our teacher is an influencer. They don't have a social media account, but they're sure heck influencing a lot of minds. But what a lot of the influencers do is they present this perfect picture, this highlight reel of
Mm,
all the different things that are perfect. And our general population has built into their minds the idea that that's what they have to be like. The problem with that is the minute that they see that they can't sustain that, they can't be like that, they can't be this perfect all the time, they think there's no way I can change. But
mm.
that's not the situation. The situation is we're only seeing the highlights of those influencers and not the real life stuff. And I feel like we've gotten a little bit better as a society about that. But I tell you what, little story. I was doing a group coaching session for some nutrition and things like that just a couple of weeks ago for a friend, and the group, the biggest thing that were appreciative is the fact that I said, I can't have snacks at my house that are bad snacks, because if I have them, I'm going to eat them. Like, even though I'm a health coach, even though I'm pretty fit, like all these different things, I don't have this perfect discipline. I know myself. So what do? I don't buy them. Right. So that for them was like, whoa, he struggles with that too. That means that it's okay for me to struggle with that and still be in a healthy place down the road. So I think that when we're showing that leading by example thing, we also need to show the reality of what that looks like, not just the perfection of it.
Yeah, in fact, I think of a saying that I heard years ago: "Live out loud." In other words, let people see all of it, and be authentic, be real. Welcome, Lydia. Glad to have you, and Dr. Blake. Glad to have you. Thank you for being here. But yeah, definitely avoid the appearance that you got it figured out. And so, because, okay, I'm again older than most around, and and I have to tell you, at this age and stage in my life, I haven't got it all figured out. In fact, the older I get, the more I've come to understand how little I do have figured out, and that I just have to find the principles, gain the wisdom, and live accordingly. And something you commented, Anton, that I wanted to key in on is, as you watch people be an example, not for the purpose of imitating what they do, but what you should find out is the principles that they have learned, and start working with the principles. Don't try to imitate other people's behaviors and actions just for the sake of mimicking, because that's not healthy. As we grow and learn to be sustainable, the way we are going to be sustainable long term is to grow in a way that is fitting to who we are, because we're all unique. And it has to be not only who you are, but who you are at a given point in time. Because again, we may have potential to do something, but we may not reach that potential for weeks, months, even years, but we have to be in process. And no one is, even if they are similar to us in design, they're not at the exact place at the same time with us all the time. And so those are factors as you consider sustainability that you have to consider, because if you don't, like Anton said, you'll give up. Welcome, Zaid. Welcome, Corinne. Let's see here.
To Erica's point, right? You don't set yourself up for failure with the snacks, and it's kind of tying it back to you. Lead with the big picture, right? Influence with the big picture. It's not about the minute details of snacks, right? It's being able to show them that, like, most of the time you're good, right? And once in a while, whether you have a cheat meal, whether you have a snack, whatever, as long as you can control yourself, unlike me, it's not a big deal. And even if you did end up having a binge day and you really eating the whole box of whatever it is that you're talking about, it's not the end of the world. It's going to, from a big picture, you're looking back to the previous week and you go, you know what? I only ate one box this week, but last week I ate two, right? And it's just that consistent movement forward, but really from that macro view. I think that's a great point, Erica.
Yeah, and I think part of it is a skewed perspective of what success is. You know, we make successes on a routine basis. Like you just said, okay, we go from eating 2 boxes of unhealthy something to 1 box. That's a success. Mm-hmm. What we have come to expect success as in our culture is what I term reward. We're chasing the reward on a daily basis, and it's not going to happen on a daily basis. Reward takes time. A lot of successes, a lot of failures have to occur to finally reach a reward in our life, a moment where we can say we have achieved a certain level, rather than fighting that every day. That's why the value of our 10% branding. If you can make a 10% change in critical areas in your life, that is amazing success, because it will lead to another 10% in time. And after time, we will get to a point where we will achieve that reward level, that accomplishment level.
If you don't know what Kevin's talking about, if you're new, to the 10% concept, Kevin and I have three brands really that we focus on: a health brand, which is 10% fitter; a life brand, which is 10% better; and a leadership brand that is 10% impact. And whether it be just improving 10% of your life, or even looking from a focus, here's a 100% perfect plan. I can maintain 10% of this consistently and ongoing. I promise you, over time, as long as you keep that consistency moving forward, you're going to get better. And just like you said, eventually it's going to pull you, not push you, into doing more because you see success, you start to build confidence, you even start to see results. And that gets you to do more and more versus what usually happens. We start with 100% perfect things that we're trying to execute. We're maybe good for a week, 2 months, whatever it is. And at some point, we're going to fail. And now we have a negative association with the thing that we were trying to accomplish. We feel like failures. We feel like we can't do it. It didn't build anything for us, but a short-term outcome that we quickly, throw out the window, but go and return to our initial ways of living.
Corinne, and I apologize if it's Corinne or Corinne. Let me know if I'm mispronouncing it, Corinne. But yes, being authentic is a key part of being an example, being an influencer, because to try to influence that you got it figured out, you're, first of all, is not true, because none of us have it all completely figured out. Second of all, it's unrealistic. And that's where people get defeated. Well, I can't do that because they've got it under control all the time. No. And I have to say, even in influencers, I personally know a lot of the big name influencers on LinkedIn. And I know in meeting with them, talking with them, that they are real people. They don't have it all figured out. They struggle just like any of the rest of us. They have some areas that they have accomplished things in, but they will readily tell you that they are not perfect, that they don't have it figured out. They really are just trying to help others along in their journey. Sharon makes a comment. Don't beat yourself up if you ate the whole box of cookies. Move on and think before you do the next time. Yeah, it's a growth process, and part of it, and this is key, is awareness. Okay, so many of us are rocking along, and we've gotten some measure of cultural success or whatever, and we think everything's great, and yet what we don't understand is that we're not healthy. We've been unhealthy so long, unsustainable so long. We don't know what it really feels like, looks like to be healthy and sustainable.
And the key word there is think, right? And you said the word awareness. Coming back to our topic of how to be an effective influencer, often I see influencers focusing on point B, right? They're always painting the picture of point B. They're always painting the route to point B, but they're not spending enough time with people and helping people understand point A. In any sort of transformation, to make it effective, we have to understand the point of origin. We really have to understand the situation and tailor it to that situation, because point B is the same, but where we're coming from is always going to be different. And we have to include that in the path and the journey to get there. So thinking about and creating that awareness is what's important. You can't just remove triggers. You can't just remove, you have to change responses, but you can't change your response until you understand certain triggers. And whether this be talking about leadership, relationships, life, health, it doesn't matter. It all falls into the bucket of human nature and how we work and operate.
Well, and I have a graphic that I created that's referring to balance, but part of our challenge is we picture life as a straight line from beginning to end, and it's not. In fact, it is all over the place. And as Anton was just saying, you may be headed in the right general direction, but where you're at in that process could be all over the page. And the awareness and consideration as we go along in the journey is important. And when we are journeying in the right general direction, that's the important thing. And one day we will ultimately get to where we need to be, but we've got to be moving in that direction and purposeful in it. Hawk makes a comment. He says, since I work with people with severe issues, I prefer 1% daily improvement. For a lot of people, 1% improvement would be a remarkable and a positive step, because a lot of people are, again, unaware that they are in an unsustainable place, and they're not even moving. They're 0%. So 1% is an improvement. And I appreciate your comment about people with severe issues. When you're deep enough in an emotional, mental, spiritual, physical hole, if you will, any progress is good, because and counting it is the other thing, is people to help us understand we've moved that 1%. That's a good thing. Welcome, Mary. Glad to have you with us, and I appreciate your continuous support for us. So, Anton, what do you think? We talk about being an example. What are some other ways that you think of that we can influence?
You mentioned the word balance, and of course that's our favorite word. We often try to paint a picture of be this way or this way. So, and as an example, Sharon saying, give yourself grace, and understand that it's okay that you did that. It's okay if you made a mistake. It's okay if you tripped down this path. But at the same time, don't give yourself so much grace that you continue to make these mistakes over and over and over, and it never changes. So the balance there is, as an influencer, is teaching people you need to have some form of accountability, but at the same time, you need to have grace while you're focusing on that. The reality is we need to be somewhere in the middle, and it adjusts. There's not like a perfect line you're going to draw between the two, because external factors matter, right? Your life matters, your job matters, all those other things, your stress levels matter when you're making those decisions. And that goes for many different things. Like sometimes you're going to push yourself to progress a lot. Sometimes you're going to have balance and recover and realize that in this month, in this quarter, whatever it is, I'm in maintenance phase. All I'm trying to do is just maintain where I got, take a breather, and then be able to do it again in the future. Because if we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, we're going to fail over time. But at the same time, if we don't ask ourselves to push from time to time, we're not going to change. We're not going to improve.
Yeah. Balance is such a key, and balance isn't finding a comfortable spot in the middle. We unfortunately think of middle of the road as balance. It's not. Balance means being able to have a grasp of two opposing characteristics and be able to move between them readily, such as one of my favorites is truth and love. There are times where we need to be very candid with people, and even to a point of being blunt, and tell them something truthful about what's going on, and telling it just straight up, unapologetically, or different terms, and that's appropriate. But there are other times where we need to show great compassion and understanding, and one of my favorite ways to express it is sometimes we need to lovingly kick somebody in the behind and tell them get going, and other times we need to hug them and cry with them, and that's balance. And people want this, and I'm bad about this, looking for that formula, that middle of the road to stay all the time. Doesn't work that way, and we don't want it to work that way, because if you ever get there, you then get in what we call a rut. And so, yeah, balance. And so as you're using your influence in the lives of others, be sure, if, for example, you have to tell somebody a harsh truth, as soon as you're done with that, be ready and willing to say, but I'm telling you, it's hard, something that's going to be hard to do, but guess what? I'm going to be here to walk through it with you. And so that's where the compassion comes in. I'm not just going to tell you straighten up and fly right, and then walk away and tell you good luck with that come see me when you're done. So,
And tying kind of two things together, we already mentioned, Corinne mentioned authenticity, which oftentimes in modern social media world, especially shows our failures, shows our struggles and things like that. But at the same time, tying it with balance is you still have to have success. You have to still show success, because it's one thing to be popular in social media and have a lot of likes and followers and whatever. And it's another thing to be able to actually move people in a more sustainable way of living, right? You can be popular and be liked, but doesn't actually mean you're making a difference in those people's lives. In order for people to follow you and actually change themselves, oftentimes, if it requires improvement, they have to see you be successful with it. They have to see that you've done something and how much better your life is, how much reward you've gotten it. We can't forget about that. It's still important. So once again, that balance between the two, between authenticity and being able to demonstrate success. It's still authentic, but you can't hide the success thinking like, oh, it's showboating, or I'm talking about myself. I'm like, you have to, because if I'm going to follow you and I want to improve my life, I need to see that you actually done it. And I've seen this in the health circles a lot. I worked in fitness for a decade, and I've had some of the best trainers don't look like they have six packs, right? Don't look like they're these fit people. And sometimes they struggled being able to connect and find clients, because people are like, well, you don't walk the walk. You don't have the body that I want. Why should I listen to you? So it's a lot easier if you can do a little bit of both and have that authenticity and show failures and show struggles, but at the same time, show you living the success yourself.
Welcome, Anthony. Glad to have you, my friend. Pleasure for you to join our
Speaking of an influencer.
That's right. And speaking of an authentic influencer, Anthony is one of those. Lydia makes a great point. She hits something kind of right in what I consider a sweet spot, and that is to be fluid with wisdom. And that's such an important point, that we need to have the wisdom to be sustainable. It is so important to do that, because we need to know when to go between the two extremes, and that's where wisdom comes in.
I love the word fluid. I mean,
Yeah.
that is such a good word to use with what we're talking about. It's not the rigidity of this perfect path, right? It's understanding we're heading in a direction. We're fluid with, stay veering off one way or another. I've talked about this long time ago. It's like micro adjustments all the time have to happen. You can't set this perfect course and try to get there. Like, you have to adjust to external circumstances. It's key. Beautiful way of saying that, Lydia.
Well, and to your point, Anton, to get on this path and drive straight forward, some people do it and they will make an accomplishment, but the price they pay in that process is what is the problem. The price you pay by doing that relationship wise, family, friends, the price you pay from a health standpoint, and I'm talking overall health, sacrificing in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. And so, yeah, is it possible, and have people done that straight line, straightforward approach and made something happen? Yes. But what you watch is ultimately, where do they end up? And a lot of these people that we look at and say, oh, I want to be like them, when you follow the rest of the story, many times you find that they end up broken and sad and unfulfilled, because that's not the way most of life happens. It is fluid. It is back and forth, and sometimes backwards going, and that's the way life is.
I've seen the straight path straight path forward succeed short term many times. The problem is that assessment is done within months or quarters, whatever it may be. We're not just, like I said, I keep bringing this back to leadership because I see the same stuff happening, right? A leader over index on being a certain way or learning a certain thing, and they don't continue to develop other things. right? They may have become a really good developer. They're like, I want to teach my people and I want to be the best at teaching them how to do new things. But then they got so preoccupied with that, they forgot to maintain relationships, which is ultimately what made people want to listen to them in the first place. And now they're this amazing developer without a team that wants to follow them, right? Like, and they're looking like, oh, performance improved short term. But if they look a year, 2 years down the road, all of a sudden it's not as good as they thought it was. So you have to, I'm telling you, I would argue this point with anybody. Whenever somebody tries to take this straight path linear approach, long term, the gains will be less than the losses.
Yeah. And that's, and I'm going to kind of plug our assessment. Part of what we do with our assessment is get people to consider the long term and look at the deeper aspects of being sustainable, because there are many long term considerations that we're not taking right now. And part of that is because our culture has so focused on the youth and the young and the now, which again, I'm all for living in the present. We've got to do that. But at the same time, the balance to that is when I get to be a senior citizen, what are the impacts? What is it going to be like then if I do this or that or the other? And the more we can do that, the better we are. And in fact, one of the ways that I like to express it is we need to plan for the future as if it all depends on us, and live in the present as if it depends all on God and Him sustaining us. And that's where we find that balance. Some people of faith want to say, well, I won't do anything. God will take care of it. Well, that's not healthy or wise either. But just looking beyond the next year or 5 years, even 10 years, is an important part of living sustainably, because on average most of us are going to be living 75 years or roughly that. And if that's true, which probability tells us it is, at 70 and you're watching the end of life coming, what are you going to look back at and go, wow, why did I do it that way? Or why did I not think about what was truly valuable and important? So one of the things that we bring to each other, and the value of having older and younger and all in between, is the perspective that we can offer each other. Again, being in the fall season of my life here on earth, I look back and I've got a much broader perspective because of years plus. It's not just a matter of years, because I know some people that have reached my level of age and still are floundering around and hadn't figured it out, haven't grown up. But having that time, but being observant, being intentional in what life's about and how to live it, not just live it, but live it well. One of my favorite terms is abundance. And I like to see people begin to live in abundance. And I'm not talking monetarily. Money comes and goes. And in the end, as the old saying goes, you don't see anybody with a truck full of money following them to the gravesite. And so what I'm talking about, abundance, has to do with fulfillment, has to do with legacy. It has to do with impact on people's lives in a positive way, and family, so many things. So
I gotta, maybe it's controversial, but it's just real. And here's another one about influencers. Tying in behavior change. This is why this comment is originating from actually making a change versus capturing attention and making just people feel something and feel anger, frustration, desire to change, right? Maybe it's a combination of both, but to help people to go after the positive, not constantly run from a negative.
Mm.
right? Like this is there's science behind this. This is not just me making it up. But in the human behavior, we are better at changing when we're chasing a positive versus a negative. Yet, I'm seeing a trend on LinkedIn where maybe it's others too, but I feel like I don't spend as much time on LinkedIn as I used to. Maybe it's just what I'm interacting with. So correct me if I'm wrong, folks. I'd love to hear from the audience if I'm right. But I'm seeing a trend from the LinkedIn of a lot of complaining, a lot of negativity, a lot of this is bad, this is bad. Like, I get it. Honestly, I don't think we are blind to our problems in society. I think we're all educated, smart people, especially on this platform. We understand our problems very, very well. But we're not painting a picture of the world we want to have. We're not painting a picture of what these solutions are very much. So we keep, and these posts, they're grabbing massive attention. So what is it doing? It's getting another person that wants to be an influencer, wants to get attention to do the same thing. And all of a sudden we got a flood of it. And I feel like that's what most of my feed is about. But as a successful influencer, maybe it's a balance. Maybe you present of the issue. I'm not saying we're blunt, never talk about them, but follow up with we can change. This is what we can change, how we should change, and what we need to do to make it better. And this is what it looks like when we make it better. So that would be my angle. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I just feel like we're headed in not necessarily a good direction when it comes down to LinkedIn and social media influencing.
Yeah, I have seen some of the same things, and I appreciate, part of my gifting is to see things black and white and call things wrong when they're wrong. And but again, if we're going to do is call out the problem and not bring the solution, and I hope I don't offend anybody here. I seems like I manage to do that periodically, but if when all you do is complain about the problem and don't bring a solution, all you're doing is whining. And we don't need whining. We need people that are going to step up and be the example and provide the leadership. Yes, recognize the challenges. Indeed, recognize the struggles, but don't stop there. Don't live there. Where we've got to live is in moving forward and finding those moment by moment, day by day successes. Let's see. Zaid makes a comment, says selling your product is important. You can't sell anything unless it can show the value. Yeah. So, and being an influencer, don't just try to get people to buy in, but show them the value in it, and not just in word, but in action. Indeed.
Yeah, I
Um,
like the word to use selling, right? It's relating it to influence, and you are selling people on an idea, and you're selling people on the path, or you're selling people on the value, because it's not enough just to capture their attention. That's not influencing. That's just grabbing attention and being like a news outlet or whatever, or an entertainer. I think an influencer requires you to actually get them to move.
yeah. Let's see. Lydia liked the concept of abundance, overflowing abundance. Abundance is something we're missing so much in life because we have substituted quote unquote success and whatever that means. Abundance is about not just that one thing, it means about living life fully. And as we talk about it, is sustainable. That's part of what we're after. Is when we talk about sustainability, it's about being able to live in an abundant fashion on a regular basis. That's what sustainability is, and expressed in another way. Zaid makes a comment. The now and present is a spectrum, not just a point in time. Indeed. And we can't just say we're living in the now in a vacuum, because the now doesn't exist, like you said, as a single point in time. The now is part of that spectrum, part of that flow. Um, Anthony comments, says best way to is to unfollow the negative. Yeah, disconnect from that stuff. If somebody's gonna go down a hole all the time and try to pull you in with them, let go of their hand, walk away, and do it with respect and love. Don't throw rocks at people. But if they're going determined to do that, then don't let them drag you with them. Uh, let's see. And Sharon agrees with Anthony about getting rid of the negativity. And indeed, by the way, I'm like LinkedIn is my favorite social media platform, and there's ways to do to deal with the negativity by making adjustments and preferences and things. So you're not just subject to the whims of the algorithm, and you can affect it if you choose to. Um, let's see here. Zaid felt inspired. He had to share this, and I appreciate it. He's sharing a verse that talks about, well, I'll read it. Are not five sparrows sold for 2 pennies, and not one of them is forgotten before God? Why, even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, you are of more value than the sparrows. A lot of solace and comfort in that God takes care of even the sparrows, and yet we're much more important to that than that. And he's going to take care of us if we depend on him and allow him to do it. And by the way, one of the things we talk about living sustainably is the go through the process. Can I control it? No. Can I influence it? No. Then let go and turn it over to God. I mean, that's part of that total process. And that alone is so freeing and help us to become more sustainable, because when we're not carrying buckets full of stuff we can do nothing about, we have a much better chance of growing and progressing in the things we can do something about. Let's see here.
Zaid's got another one down there.
Yeah, I'll let you to respond. It says,
I understand your point, but sometimes people are just overwhelmed and can't really think about a solution. And of course, open it up for conversation, right? If that's the case and you can't think of a solution, finish it with a way that engages the public, engages the audience into discussing a solution, right? Don't close it off at the problem only, right? Like, open it up to where others can help you, and the discussion will become the outcome that we're looking for. I'm just telling you, like, this is, like I said, it's going to be a little bit argumentative, and I get that. And I'm just coming to human behavior and actually being able to change. That's what I love. That's my biggest passion, whether it be change management that I do now in leadership, in HR world, whether it be in health with people and health coaching, whether it be in life coaching. It all boils down to we do much better chasing the positive and really trying to get to a better place than just focusing on a bad spot that we're in. Nothing wrong with it either. Like I said, it's sometimes needed, and sometimes that's the thing. But you also see a lot of these influencers, or I should say attention getters, who only focus on that, right?
Yeah.
Their focus is not to influence. Their focus is to grab attention. And negativity is the easiest way to grab attention. Take a look at the news. We've talked about this many times. There's a reason why the news is so negative. We respond to that a lot better as human brains. Our brain is a lot more attracted to it for some reason. So that's the tough part, and that's another balance. Like, you have to grab attention to influence, but you also have to ultimately transform.
Yeah, and the part of the value of including and being an influencer, not just for yourself, by yourself, is to include others, because the others can bring those possible solutions and the different perspectives. That's the value of living in relationship with others and not trying to be that attention getter. We talk about humility. The value of humility is it opens the door for others to come along that can offer that perspective or suggest that solution. And there are people, influencer on LinkedIn that will talk about a negative thing, but they leave it open and even ask for thoughts, suggestions, ways to improve or overcome. When you do that and you're sincerely asking, that's okay. That is not going negative. That's recognizing it, but saying, hey, how can we fix this? What can we do better? And get that discussion going. That's really very positive in the end, because if it opens those discussions and gets those perspective, it can make a huge difference in a lot of lives. Let's see here. Lydia makes comments, being truthful with empathy and kindness. There's your balance. There's your balance. Being able to tell people honestly, hey, doing that is going to be stupid. But if you can move towards this positive direction, I'm there to help you. I understand because I've struggled with the same thing, or I'm still struggling with the same thing. Yes, indeed, that is balance. Other ways of influencing. What are your thoughts, Anton? You got any
I mean,
other?
it's not even just other ways, it's topics. I'd be curious to hear like what relevant topics the audience thinks influencers should be focusing on, right?
Mm,
Lots of different ones, but I just want to see like what do you folks think our society, our world is in most need of, right? What are these things that if we all as influencers started focus on, we could actually move the needle on? And what are those highest level priority things? To me, it's been the same one, and especially when it comes down to human sustainability, is influencing people to take breaks, right? And I don't mean breaks isn't just like a break where you take a break from work. I mean mental breaks,
mm,
like offloading the amount of stuff that our brain does in both life, work, health, anything, and just giving our time to do nothing, giving our space to be present, doing those kind of things, grounding ourselves in the present moment. Like those, I just see so much value in that.
mm,
And I do see a lot of people talking about it, and there, a lot of them are practical. And I just don't know if it's effective. Like I feel like we're missing the point because I'm not seeing society doing that better. I feel like our minds are more overwhelmed than before. And part of it, honestly, like, and I'm just, talking too much probably right now, but I feel like we're taking a break and we're getting on our phone, right? We're like, okay, I got away from my job. I got away from my kids. I got away from this. And I'm going to dive right into Instagram. I'm going to dive right into LinkedIn. I'm going to dive into TikTok, YouTube, video watching, whatever it is. That's not a break. That's a break for you, like from what you were doing. But your brain is probably more overwhelmed from that activity than the activity you actually were doing before, singularly focused. So that to me is a big one. But I'd love to hear what you folks think is a kind of the need for it. What kind of focus points do we need?
let's see. Zaid kind of looks at that in his comment. He says, sometimes I disconnect if I feel overwhelmed, but sometimes I do follow it because I want to feel how others are feeling about issues, like the doctor listening to your heart to make sure it sounds and moving well or not. Checking people's pulse is important for me. Sure. And that's all part of it. But if all if all the doctor does listen to your heart, and not look at the other things, that are going to be limited. And I think that Anton, the word that we use but don't apply is disconnect. We've got to truly learn how to disconnect. And I would even offer that there is a principle, a model to consider, and that is we were designed to rest one day out of the week. And it is not there accidentally, and it's not just if it happens to feel right. It is a principle of resting once a week, and part of resting is truly disconnecting. I mean, letting go. And one of the ways to do it, and Anton and I kind of index on this a lot, but is just go out in nature, go out in the woods and walk around, go out and take a hike up a mountain, whatever like that. Get out and not looking at the phone, not doing other things, but truly take some time to disconnect. And those can be short term. Uh, but what the other consideration is, how much do we need to disconnect totally in some areas? I know for me, one of the healthiest things I've ever done is disconnect from news. I have disconnected from the news. And please understand, I'm not ill-informed or ignorant. I make choices how to stay informed, but I don't have to do it watching news or listening to news or reading newspapers. That's not healthy to index over that. And we're watching the result of the unhealthiness of that. But each of us needs to consider what are those things that we need to really think about disconnecting from, and start disconnecting 10%. We're back to that one step. And even if we have to think about what Hawk was talking about, take 1%. You take 1% often enough, you end up at 100%. But take the step. Oh, I know you'll like Lydia's comment here, Anton, because I know we've talked about this one before. You want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend some laughter as a break. Just have a good laugh. That's even on a chemical level, folks. Like, there's science that proves that our stress is lowered when we're laughing. Or, there's so many positive things that come out of it. Our mindset shifts, our physical chemistry shifts. I mean, there's just so many positive things. And it's like, I forget what the numbers are, but we're talking about an average baby laughs like hundreds of times a day. And as we grow older, we lose that ability. We're getting to probably, single digits for some of us, if that. And that discrepancy is really affecting our lives. It's a really big deal. So I love that comment, Lydia.
Well, one of the things that made my trip to India special is I'm not a fun guy. I'm not that guy. Yeah, I know. I'm not that guy.
I'm with you, though. I'm with you. I'm not a fun guy either. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah. But what was great is that while I was in India and after the event, we were able to get together as a group that were involved in the organization and set off on an activity. But the best part was the ride in the vehicle, the van, going the activity. Everybody just got silly, laughed and cut up and things like that. And I had to laugh because one of the things that some of the people in this group discovered is that I can be silly and I can actually be funny and laugh. And they were kind of surprised at that because when I'm in leadership mode, I'm usually pretty serious about things. But yeah, bring some laughter in your life. Not stupid, not bad choices. There's ways to bring healthy laughter into your lives, and that I think that's worthwhile on a daily basis. Even that's why some people that I like to spend time with are very different than me, because they help me laugh because they are better at being fun than I am.
Yeah, I need fun people in my life. I've told a story before. I've hired a life coach before to help me be more fun, like with my kids and just in general and stuff like that. Because I recognize that I'm serious. I come from a very serious family, always, moving forward, driven, that kind of stuff. But you forget to smell and, stop and smell the roses and enjoy life sometimes. Zaid's comment, I just want to put that one up. And just to say this, like, I love our audience. I love all of you so much. And the more we can disagree, the more we can even discuss things, I think the better this becomes. It's not about me and Kev sitting here and agreeing on everything and talking and like we have every solution. We have a perspective, right? We have a method. We have those kind of things. But you have life experience. You have your own perspectives. You have your own methods. And I so appreciate when we have a little bit of a discussion that goes beyond the surface. So Zaid, I appreciate it. But I'm going to challenge you right back. You said the negative would raise our survival mode. Good stuff doesn't. That's why we respond to negative issues. The negative doesn't raise our survival mode. Overcoming the negative does, right? So we don't actually, if we just dwell in the negative and we are staying, I always come back to body and physiology and things like that. Putting under load and failing under load constantly does not improve us. Overcoming that load is what makes us stronger, is what makes our body stronger, is what makes our mind stronger, and those kind of things. So I do get what you're saying, but I'm going to, like I said, I challenge you right back. It's not the negative, it's overcoming the negative that makes us better.
And that's why when we on social media, people say, well, I don't want to hear your problems and your issues. That's because there are people that just dwell on the problem. And the key for any of us, I mean, we're designed to help each other. And the way we help each other is not just to empathize, but to offer perspective on overcoming. How did we overcome it? We were there. We faced that obstacle. And if all we do is say, yeah, I faced that same obstacle, that's not much way to provide encouragement. Whereas if we say, I faced that obstacle and I had to push it 10 times before it finally moved on the 11th time, and offering that overcoming is the key. That's how we keep from being negative, or turning negative into positive, is that overcoming. Handsome guy there, Anton. Remind us his name.
This is Oakley. Can you say hi, Oakley?
Hi.
Hi, Oakley.
It's funny. We've been doing the show so long. I remember when he was born, we were already doing the show.
Yeah.
And yeah, right? No,
No,
I don't think he was born yet.
he was real
very,
young.
very young.
Yeah.
Very, very young. And this kid's growing up with our audience and stuff like that. But he wakes up earlier than, I want him to sometimes. He got his own plan.
He's
right,
got energy.
Just sit down.
See ya, Oakley.
But yeah, you can sit down right there. Sorry. But yeah, so I think we got one more from Hawk there.
Yeah, we've been primed to react to the negative, both the media, but also from prior experience. Indeed, but just because it has been doesn't mean that it should be. And that's part of the problem. Yeah, we don't.
One there, Kev, is right. The way we're built early on, survival is a very different system than thriving, right? Survival is, we've talked about this many times, it's a primitive brain, right? That's what captures, and it's really loud. It shuts everything else down. So it's why it's easy to go there. But if we just live in that brain, lives are not going to be very fun. We're still going to be in caves trying to hide from danger and doing all that kind of stuff. So that's what we have to realize. Just because we have a response to something doesn't mean it's the best thing for us.
Well, in fact, I had a verse of the day today. I have one that comes up each day, and it was talking about that sort of thing. We don't have to stay in that spot. And, we don't have to just survive. In fact, we're not built by design to do that. And it is through change and growth that we overcome that sense of, well, all I can do is survive. No, what we are designed to do, if we've learned the principles, learned the wisdom of journeying in life, what we are designed to do is to thrive. And again, I love the word abundance, because that is such a descriptive word. When we're living where we are designed to be, life is abundant. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Not going to be perfect, not always going to be easy, but it is satisfying, it is fulfilling, and it is long-term what we do to sustain. And that's what we are all about, is helping people move from surviving, getting by, holding on. What we really want to see people do is to move from that to thriving, to abundance. And one of the topics we hit a lot of is managing stress. Our stress is a big factor in keeping us in survival mode. Unmanaged stress will cause us to get our back against the wall and stay there and try to protect ourselves. And that's not a good place. But we've been doing it a long time, and we've gotten too good at it. And we've even come to expect that as normal and even accept it. And that's what we part of what we got to overcome. That's not normal. It's not healthy, and it's not what we need to do. Part of the reason we created an assessment is to help people identify how it can be better by understanding maybe what are the key things that are wrong.
And to many of Zaid's points, we can't also forget about survival. Some people aren't just in that mode. They're just trying to get through the day, and they're just trying to see tomorrow, whatever it is. It's not saying that those people are wrong, right? We have to understand those and be, accepting and graceful with those folks, because we're all in different parts of our lives. We're all in different places, mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it may be. But ultimately, we definitely want to move to the next stage.
Let's see here. And I like Hawk's comment. Says, and there comes the best antidote, kids. Yes, the value of family. I know it can be hard, and I appreciate that, but family is part of the way we have abundance. You get so caught up in things that really may not be so important, and you get around your children or your grandchildren and laugh with them and just have fun with them. Yes, that is a good antidote there, Hawk. I agree. And seeing Oakley smile just made me smile so big, because that's what our kids, our healthy kids, do for us, Let's see. Zaid makes comment, overcoming the load is the survival response to the negative. How would you initiate the overcoming process without the initiator, which is the negative? Okay, I got to jump on that one. That's where, when we choose, and again, I beat this drum, but when we seek wisdom and we are proactive in looking for the wisdom in life, we can avoid having to go through the negative all the time. Doesn't mean that we're going to avoid all negative, but the wiser we become, we begin to be able to learn and grow without having to go through all the negative yuck in the meantime. And so, see, in my mind, and Anton, I know you may have additional or different perspective, but seeking wisdom is a way to seek out and overcome without having to go through negative yuck to get there.
I'm with you. And just two words to mention there: proactivity, reactivity, right? When we're responding to a negative, we're reactive. And sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it has to happen. That's life. That's just the way that it is. But at the same time, and I will always say, is better in the long run. It's better to seek wisdom and seek improvement, seek change, seek that, better world, better place proactively. Not when we're best at treating our stress, for example, we've talked about many times, not when we're already burnt out. We're best at treating stress. We're in a good place, and then we're building resilience to be able to take on way more stress down the road when that comes. It's not, unfortunately, how many of us are functioning.
Right.
But that concept applies to many different things, and I love the word you said, seeking wisdom. That's that proactivity that we need.
Yes, and that's the value, by the way, of disconnecting on a regular basis. It gives us the opportunity to get that perspective. And just, again, we're designed to rest one day a week. People can say, I don't agree with it, and that's fine. But there is a design there. And if we don't follow that design, that principle, we pay a price. And there's a lot of science that will show that in a big way. I know Anton could talk hours about all of that. And sometimes we need to do that. By the way, congrats, Hawk. That's great news.
Is that your first one, Hawk? How many you got? Curious to know. I'm sure I got a 16-and-a-half-year-old. Hopefully I got a few years until I'm a granddad, but you just never know these days.
Well, I've got.
Yeah, so I think we got to wrap here, Kev. I got to go jump into.
We are down against the clock, and thanks everyone. What Anton said is, you guys make the show. We're just here facilitating, and we share our thoughts. But well, congrats on the first one, Hawk. That's great. that's a big milestone. That's a positive there. So anyway, thank you for being here. We really appreciate you guys. That's what motivates us to be here. See, even Oakley agrees. See, he's smiling.
And just want to mention this special shout out to Zaid for challenging and getting into a deeper discussion. I welcome that. I love it. To me, that's what makes this even better. So I want to see more of you folks doing that every time. You see something differently, see as an opinion that contradicts yours, share it out. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean we're right. It's just we create a discussion and it helps the rest of us formulate a better and deeper perspective.
And suggest a topic. If there's a topic that you really would like us to talk about, suggest it. We do follow. In fact, Zaid has suggested several, and they have proven to be really great topics. We'd love to hear from Zaid again, or any of you as well. Welcome, Sina. Glad to see you, but we're wrapping up. Hope you can make it back next week, more in the beginning, and share with us as well. So thanks, everyone. God bless. Have an amazing week, the rest of the week, and we'll see you guys next week with episode 119, and hopefully it'll be a topic that you guys have selected and that we can talk about. Take care. See you later. Bye.